So yeah, so like Swerve mentioned, 3900 BC Mesopotamia is the first known recipe for beer. Like he mentioned in the poem and everything. And there are several uh deities or goddesses in the beer thing. We actually have something coming about that in the next couple months, which is gonna be super dope as well. But beyond that, most mathematics come from ancient Egypt or Kemet. So the brewery model came from Kemet that, we're using derivatives of to this day. And then there are several people, Garrett Oliver up in Brooklyn from Brooklyn Brewery, who is one of the best brewers in the world. Mufasa on the West Coast, same thing. So we have brothers and sisters who do a lot of things in this business and have been doing a lot of things, but don't get the shine. So that's kind of like part of our business model, is to give shine to those Black folks and women in a lot of instances that do not get the shine, but make incredible beer, have incredible product, but they aren't the big box joints, or they aren't the traditional brewery models. So they don't get the same look that a lot of, what you see in your city would get.
Good people, what's up, what's good, man? I'm blessed to be your host, Caleb Smith. Today we got two very special guests in the building, y'all. This is going to be a real good treat, man, for us. Before I even introduce these people, man, to y'all, just brief story, man. Brandon Peters, shout out to Brandon. Hip hop trivia, bro. We used to pull up to that on Wednesdays at Slice, man. I'm in Georgia State. My professor at the time, Professor Christopher Daniel, that was my guy, music journalism. And extra credit, we would have to pull up to hip hop trivia, get that in. Met Brandon, Maurice Garland, seeing y'all like cool brothers in media, that changed my entire mindset. Like, yo, like you can be yourself, you can dress how you want to dress, like you ain't got to change your voice and, be all newsy, things like that. So, man, seeing y'all, that changed me, bro. And then on top of that, Brandon, you actually put me on with my guy H at Live Hip Hop Daily. So I was able to intern there throughout my junior and senior year of school. And that changed my whole mindset too. And H, he showed me about how to run a studio, how to do that, how to start it. So he inspired me to do what we are doing right now. So, man, I appreciate you, bro. I got to salute you on that,
dope.
Give you all your flowers, man. Yes, sir, bro. Yes, sir, man.
I didn't even, some of that I didn't even know. So
hey,
that's
walking
up,
legend, man, because like too many times as Black men, people like walk around not saying, bro, I appreciate you. So, man, I just got to tip my hat to both of y'all as well. We got Kevin Irvin in the building. We got Brandon Peters. Drought season, man. How y'all feeling?
Good, brother.
Man.
Good, brother.
Really good, man.
And I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
On having the studio, being in business for a couple years, and also congratulate you on and the missus on your nuptials.
You
know what I mean?
Congrats.
Doing it early, doing it young. That's a beautiful thing, man. I love it. I love
all
it.
that energy to be outside. So. But man, fellas, bro, talk to me about drought season, because seeing two Black brothers into beer, talking about this thing, bro, like what inspired drought season? Talk to me about that.
Oh man. So what inspired it first is our love for craft beer. And that's where we had a commonality. I think we kind of got new into it. I was like dabbling into it. And then we have a collective of friends, brothers that drink beer. We call ourselves the Brutang Clan. So through that, we all came together, led by my brother-in-law, L. Sharpton. He probably was the conduit, that comes together. He goes by L. Sharpton, Dennis Byron. He's also a journalist as well.
Nice.
And then, Brandon and I would just sit around one day drinking beer, and we're like, there's no real like dope clothes in craft beer. Like, like anything that's like really focused on like something you would want to wear that's not like the name of a brewery or something. So we started out just wanting to do t-shirts. We're just going to say we're going to do t-shirts that say out on stout, just something like, for people, stout drinkers. Then it grew from there because, we're starting to put a business plan together. And then before we knew it, we had a whole company name. And then we were thinking about like what name it was going to be. And this is, where I always give my brother credit, because this is what linked me into it. Was like, what are we going to call ourselves? He's like, we should call ourselves Drought Season. And I'm like, well, nah, it's supposed to be pronounced draft. He's like, but nah. He's like, it's a double entendre because there's a drought of our culture in craft beer. And then it started with us. I said, that's it right there, you know. And then that opened up us getting into the beer's Black history and really like stumbling upon that. See, that's the thing for Brandon and I. Most of what we're presenting are things that we learn like a normal consumer would. You know, we're not studied or crafted in beer like people that we learn from. Right. We just came into it as consumers and said, you know what, this is a story that needs to be told. No one really knows this. This started in ancient Mesopotamia with our Black women. That, you know, the first beer recipe was a poem to a Princess Nikasi. So there was just all this rich history. Me being a history major, it just wrote me in. And then from there, we grew into what we are now, where we've done beers nationwide in Canada as well. We've done many events, and we're just really trying to push the line in craft beer and really get more of our people into the space.
Yeah,
absolutely,
man. Bro, I love that because history, Kevin, I love history too, man. Just from seeing things, you know, when it comes to like liquor and whiskey, about like Uncle Nearest, and it's like, yo, bro, hey, we've been doing this. So, man, if you can speak to like just overall history of us being involved when it comes to beer from ancient times, if you can.
Man, I mean, like, excuse me, like Kevin mentioned earlier, and this is the thing funny because people gonna watch it and be like, "Who is Kevin?" This is we call him Swerve.
Look, Swerve it is. Hey, my bad, bro. Look, I was not familiar with your game, bro. My bad.
My mom named me Kevin.
Yeah.
I didn't go with that.
Nah, for sure. Nah,
Shout out to Miles. His mom's one of the coolest elders on this planet, man.
One of our biggest supporters.
Absolutely,
that's hard.
Absolutely, man. So like Swerve mentioned, 3900 BC, Mesopotamia is the first known recipe for beer, like he mentioned in the poem and everything. And there are several deities or goddesses in the beer thing. We actually have something coming about that in the next couple months, which is going to be super dope as well. But beyond that, you know, most mathematics come from ancient Egypt or Kemet. So the brewery model came from Kemet that, you know, we're using derivatives of to this day. And then there are several people, you know, Garrett Oliver up in Brooklyn from Brooklyn Brewery, who is one of the best brewers in the world. Mufasa on the West Coast, same thing. So we have brothers and sisters who do a lot of things in this business and have been doing a lot of things, but don't get the shine. So that's kind of like part of our business model, is to give shine to those Black folks and women in a lot of instances that do not get the shine, but make incredible beer, have incredible product, but they aren't the big box joints, or they aren't the traditional brewery models, so they don't get the same look that a lot of, you know, what you see in your city would get.
Yeah, man, for sure. And bro, y'all had a dope conversation on Butter ATL. I played that, bro. That was a great talk.
That was a good
yeah, bro. And man, y'all said a crazy bar. Like, we aren't a brewery, we are a lifestyle brand.
Absolutely.
Talk to me, man, about being a lifestyle brand. What does that mean?
So, a great analogy that my brother and partner Brandon comes up with is like, if you think about cookies for weed. Whenever you see somebody with a cookie shirt on, you know they
already know what it is.
Even if you're not into it, you know that person knows where the good weed is.
Yeah.
That's what we want to be in craft beer. We want to be that brand that you know is synonymous with the understanding of it, a respect for the craft of beer, the respect for everything from, you know, glassware to tap room management to you know, styles of different beer. You know, like, because I think it's important when you're trying to bring people into it, you need to know all those details, because it's different entry points that's going to bring people into it. You know, it may not be per se the beer, but people may like, you know, making it. You know, I know people that make beer don't even drink it, make great beer. And I know people that, you know, like us, we drink great beer, but not really make it. We help make it. You know, I want that to be clear to people. People think we're a brewery, we're not. And we help make a lot of great beer. But those brewers, you know, are the ones that really help us get it over the line. And to his point, we always try to focus on Black brewers or women brewers that don't get that shine. And because we're a lifestyle brand, we're able to promote ourselves on a national scale. Because of the laws around craft beer, or even all alcohol and spirits, sometimes you're not able to promote outside your state.
Wow.
So we're in a position where we can give shine to those breweries that people outside the States wouldn't even hear about. So they can come and say, hey, man, I saw through drought season that you guys opened up, or I see that you guys did this collab, and those are also being a lifestyle brand, positioning different ways to market beer. That's one thing that we've kind of really, I think, got a real good hold on, is how to put together a situation to market beer and bring eyes to a tap room, because that's the one thing what all breweries need, all businesses need, that is, you want to get customers. And how are you going to bring customers that don't normally come, people that wouldn't know about you? And that's something that we're uniquely able to provide for people we've partnered with.
Man, bro, that's dope. And, speaking about laws, things like that, this 3-tier rule thing, like what exactly is that? What does that entail when it comes to breweries? Yeah. Look, I already know it's probably like, look, it's a source of pain. I know, but like, what exactly is this?
Fortunately, I'm on the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild Board of Directors.
Right.
So through that, 3-tier system, to put it simply, is if you make a beer, like let's say you're the person that makes the beer, you can't also sell it and distribute it yourself. So you can make it, but you have to go through someone else.
Got to have a middleman?
Got to have a middleman. It's the law. I'm glad. See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You got to have a middleman, and that middleman has to sell to a seller to sell your beer. You know what I mean? So even sometimes us being a tap room, we'd have to buy our own beer sometimes, or in other situations because of just different laws and situations depending on how you're building it. So for us, I think it's important for people to understand that 3-tier system really prevents you from building proof of concept. So if you think about it like small business, that's the fabric of America. You hear that all the time. To build a small business, think about like Girl Scouts. They can sell their cookies wherever they want. They don't have to go to Little Debbie to say, hey, before we pull up,
they got to check in.
Before we pull up the Publix, we got to check in with y'all to sell it. And we got to sell them to y'all for them to sell the Publix. And you get to build your business and proof of concept before you get the distribution.
Right.
And that 3-tier system makes it difficult. So all you can do is basically have a tap room, like a brewery, so people can come to your space. But if someone wants to leave with your beer, there's only so much they can leave with, and from that perspective. So to really like sell your beer, get it out there, get it to festivals, get it in just your area. Just say Castleberry Hill, for instance.
Right.
If, I work with Atlantucky. Let's say we just wanted to make a beer for Castleberry Hill. We couldn't just do that and sell that to them directly. We'd still have to go through a distributor to sell it to them. So again, that prevents, and then you got to think about how much volume you got to have to be able to make enough that they want to do business with you. Because if you're not making enough to do it, and then you think about going to grocery stores, there's only so much space. You're fighting for that space. So you fight.
I never thought about it like that. You're right.
Not like they saying, "Oh man, you got beer. Let us make another lane for you."
Limited real estate in the grocery store.
Somebody got to get bumped for you to get in there.
Same thing with sneakers and like Foot Locker, Foot Action, or whatever. Like that's just retail.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
it's a whole nother world.
That 3-tier system, and there's only 13 states I think that really have it.
Wow.
But it really goes back to those prohibition times and how they've done business. A lot of those states are in the Bible Belt, if you will, or have that type,
Yeah.
So it hurts, So, fortunately for us, because we're a national brand, worldwide brand, I guess we did in Canada. So
you talk your talk. Yeah.
We can work around that to highlight brewers. Say, okay, you couldn't really get distribution. We can give you national appeal and maybe able to open up opportunities, or at least get people to know about your space and get to your tap room, as opposed to you having to rush to get out there and have something in a grocery store and a bottle shop for people to see.
Yo, I find it very interesting, bro, because growing up in the South, as y'all know, on Sundays, you can't even buy liquor until 12. And, hearing like my parents talk about that. But then like once I start getting grown and going to college, and it's like, dang, it's a Sunday. It's like, bro, I can't even get nothing right now. Yeah. How do you feel like about these laws about, oh, you can't get this until 12, or this type of law, the 3-tier system? So do you guys feel like Georgia's laws is just too archaic right now when it comes towards beer and drinking?
I think they're archaic and they're rigid. We have this conversation often because of, we think as far as expansion and doing different things within this business. And it's like, what state do we want to do it in? Because you don't want to have, a difficult time. It's already hard enough establishing a business and growing a business. And then to have laws on top of that prevent you from proper distribution, which in turn prevents you from making money, is crazy. And I think things can change. I mean, when I was in college here, you couldn't buy liquor on Sunday, period.
Oh, like the entire day?
Like, period.
That's crazy.
At all.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know people who like lived or were in the military or went to school in Savannah, and they would drive into Florida on Sunday and come back. You know what I mean? And I mean, believe it or not, it's very few. There are still counties in America that are dry counties, period. Like 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Wow.
There is no selling unless you are a member of a particular place. So things can change. But yeah, the laws are not set up for the small business person to win at all.
Man, that's crazy, bro. Seeing THC and all the weed dispensaries pop, blow up. Now seeing y'all in the beer world, beverages, things like that. How can we avoid the same pitfalls that Black entrepreneurs face when it came to weed, of being boxed out when it comes towards this industry, of us not being boxed out when it comes towards beer, beverages, and things like that?
Really good question, brother.
Thank you.
So what I would say is a step in that direction is unifying. Like, so to give some numbers, out of like just rough numbers, out of 8,000 breweries nationwide, there's less than 80 Black owned.
Out of 8,000?
Less than 1%.
Yo.
Less than 1%. So in order to really support that, you have to really like band together. So like the Black owned breweries that you do have, a lot of times if you're into craft beer, you know of all of them. You know what I mean? So even if you live in Atlanta, you know about Crowns and Hops in California. You know what I mean? You know about Forticulture in Houston. You know about all these different breweries, you know what I'm saying, that are out there. And when you're, doing that kind of gives them a level of support where people are going to travel to try to get their beer. If they're in the state, they're going to tell people about it. So that's a big thing, is us collectivizing, you know what I mean, to really give that support. Because a lot of times, and I think if you think about it, people, like when you say you're a Black owned business, a lot of times people that aren't Black think that's a business just for Black people. So they'll pull up one time, check the box and support, but they won't become a customer. You know what I mean? So with that, you have to feed your customers, which are going to be your people, at least to get them to be your biggest supporters. And then, once something gets a wave, you know what I mean, all that goes out the window. But initially, because of that, you have to lean on that. You know what I mean? So you have to have entry points for our people as far as flavors of beer. We were talking earlier, and we're saying, oh, well, like Stella, like Corona, and those are good, but sometimes that's a little harsh for someone's entry point.
Yeah, bro, it was terrible for me, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I was like, yo, I hate beer.
Everyone's first situation is something that's like really like accessible but harsh. You know what I mean? Not something that's crafted with different flavors. So we always try to say, like, what alcohol do you like? And like, let's say somebody, I have a friend, our homegirl, our sister Ty, you know what I mean, a few years ago, she didn't like beer at all. She would mess with it, but she likes dark liquor. So I was like, okay, you should start with a stout. She's like, I don't want a stout. I was like, you like coffee? She's like, I love coffee. I was like, you like whiskey? I love whiskey. Jeez. Here's a coffee. That sounds good. Here's a coffee flavored barrel aged stout. You know what I mean? Yeah. And she loved it. She's like, I can't believe this is beer. So a lot of times when you think it's always your first entry point in, and you don't think about different styles of beers. Gozas, those are almost like champagnes or wines, sours. So people get into that.
Farmhouse ales.
There's more flavor profiles in craft beer and all beer than there are in any other beverage.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't know that. You know what I mean? So if you're into flavor and things like that, there's a beer. We always say that there's a beer that you like, you just haven't had it. But when we say beer, you're thinking Corona, you're thinking Heineken, you're thinking, if we say stout, you're thinking Guinness. You're like, who would ever drink that?
Guinness is terrible.
But it's a certain style. That's an Irish stout that's dry and
it's different.
That's not one that's going to have cacao nibs and chocolate and honey in it, some different flavors, that people really want to, they're attracted to.
And it's a quality thing. Anything that's mass produced, 9 times out of 10 is not going to be of great quality. Yeah, I mean, it's the difference between, a Bentley and an Elantra. Yeah. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
get you there.
They both get you there. They get you from point A to point B all day.
It's not going to be the same ride.
One is handmade, one is mass produced. You know what I mean? And going back to your question about what can we do to not fall into those pitfalls, I think marketing is a huge part of it as well. I believe that a lot of times, because there aren't a lot of us in this business, you kind of look at who's done things before and follow those pathways and not understanding that like we have flavor, we're different. You know what I mean? Like, so you need to utilize that if you're opening a tap room, starting a brewery. Your artwork don't need to look like everybody else's artwork. Make it stand out. Shout out to our people in Chicago, Moors, who we collabed with. Their artwork is amazing, and it is black, unmistakably.
Come on now.
I'm mistakenly, like, you know, proudly black.
That's right.
And one thing they've done well is they've branded it where when you see it, you're not going to question. That's right. It's going to stand out when you're going and looking in, you know, a bottle shop. You're going to know that's a Moors beer because it's going to have the same proud ass brother on the, you know, on it. And they just changed the names. And that's something I think that Brandon's point is super smart and not trying to just confuse your consumers. You got all this great artwork, but how do they know which one is yours immediately when they see it?
I mean, people... We know what we like. We know what attracts our people. We know, and what we like in turn is what the rest of the world likes at some point, because we are always the trendsetters and the early adopters on everything from tech to spirits to fashion to everything. Anything you can walk down Simpson Road tomorrow and see something that you may see on a runway 3 years from now. That's just what it is.
The bell bottoms. Seeing dudes walk around with bell bottoms. Now it's everywhere. I saw all the dope boys with the bell bottoms on.
Bro.
Now everybody wears. Hey, that's real talk though, fellas. And man, you know, hearing that about us, like setting those cultural standards, right? How can we start making beer be like synonymous with black as well? Because typically when we think about beer, it's this white guy in Alabama at a trailer watching a football game. Like, people aren't thinking about black folk. People think about Hennessy when it comes to black people. But how can we like start to shift that overall narrative towards beer being synonymous with us?
It's ironic that you say that, because Hennessy is far more removed from black culture in its inception than any beer is. And I'm not saying that because of what I read. I heard I've stayed at the Hennessy estate in Cognac, France.
Wow.
Like, I've been there. I've been through the whole thing. You know what I mean? So that Cognac, France is different from any black neighborhood in the world that I have ever been to. However, there's probably a brewery within 5 miles of your crib, wherever you live. You know what I mean? So it's just about education and marketing. That's one of the why we do that. That's why we have Beer is Black History, our trademark. You know what I mean? So remember our trademark. So
hey, don't try it.
Don't play. So, but yeah, that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's really about education, and we really push the line with that, letting people know what it is. And ironically, it's not just us that don't know. We have a ton of non-black people who have bought our capsule collections, our merchandise, bought our beer, put it out on social media, love it, support it, and they're educated as well. I would say, I can't speak for you because we do festivals, we do events across the country. I would say maybe 15% of the people that I have a conversation with for the first time are aware of the real history of beer.
That's generous.
Yeah.
There's not many times that I've run across someone who knows it, and the times that I have run across they know it, they've not been black.
And that's how it typically goes when it comes to our
history. It's always been a white person like, yeah, you're right. Like, somebody saw my shirt like, yeah, you're right, that's true.
Wow.
Because you know, it's a statement piece. You know, when you see it, it's gonna really make you think. Even if we've had black people like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, you know what I mean? You just saying that everything is black
be
history.
your own people, bro.
It's like, right. But it's like, a lot of times I just say, just Google it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to even like really get into it because it's my word. Let me go to a resource that you think is reputable. You know what I mean? You can look it up. And I always say, you know what I'm saying, with our women, you know what I mean? With our black women. Because the thing about it was the hunters would go out, and you know, the water from the Nile, they couldn't just drink that water. So the women would take that back and make it digestible for the hunters, you know. And they would do all types of fermentation, not just beer, but anything fermented to be able to make the water healthy, you know what I'm saying, able to drink. And for a long time, those were more like, you know, their recipes they didn't even share with the men. Men didn't even know. They just come back from hunting and they would have beer, tea, kombucha, elixir, whatever it may be. And then as, you know, areas get invaded, you know, that information gets spread out. Now every area has their version of a beer or fermentation, but you know, that's where it really starts with. And I think when you know the history of it. Like I think anytime we tell this story, we at least leave somebody with the fact like, well, I'm at least try a beer now, or I'm at least be more open to the conversation about it, because now I know it starts with us and you feel proud about it,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
and then getting more things about it. I mean, because we're a lifestyle brand, and I think because of, you know, what we've done in our careers separately of working, like being in craft beer, like you said, building those things. Like we've done partnerships with, you know, Killer Mike. We've done partnerships with different people that brings that coolness to it. You know what I mean? And people see it. Because if you think about, I know for me, Hennessy, Alizé, Gin and Juice, I learned about that from rappers.
Yep. That is true.
That was never something that, like, I went to a bar's some they said, some connoisseurs like, oh, let us give you the Hennessy brand. Like, nah, like a rapper that I like talked about it, and I was like, I want to drink that and get with that. So that's really what it comes down to when you get. And there's a lot of rappers that do have beer that they've made. You know what I mean? My brother's Nappy Roots. We got a brewery right around the corner. You know what I mean?
DJ Quick,
beer. DJ
Quick,
Devin the Dude,
Devin the Dude,
Run the
A-Ball and
Jewels.
MJG. You know what I mean? All of them have done Juvie. You say Juvie?
Juvie Juice. Yeah.
All of them have done something in the space, and I think that's what starts bringing the cool to it and getting more people to want to get into it. You know what I mean? Then from there, once you get it, then you get into people. Think about Hennessy now. Everybody wants, oh, you got that white Hennessy. You know what I mean? People, you know what I mean? We don't want to hurt nobody's feelings about the white Hennessy.
Right.
That's for another podcast. But when you get into it, then you start looking at the different levels of it. So we can get more of our people into the space. Then you can start getting into the different levels of it. And it can be something that, because some beer bottles are expensive. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
If we talk about Bourbon County, you know what I mean? Our man, you know what I'm saying, brewing like out of Goose Island. Like sometimes they do that with they put those in the Blanton barrels. Those are sought after. Some of those bottles of beer are $70, $80. You know what I mean? Just because of what they command.
Or
in the
even
beer
what's the joint? It's not good. But the Sam Adams joint that comes in that copper bottle, it's like
it's just our opinion.
$200.
Y'all do what y'all want. People can like it.
$200 or more.
Our opinion, it's not.
Yeah.
It's in a great bottle. It's presented well, but you know what I mean? Just for me, the flavor is not there. It's not my thing.
It's not a good beer.
It's not my thing.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not my thing. But you know, that's the thing I think is that when people that you are reputable and you have a relationship with bring that cool to it, like Snoop, drink Corona. He'll tell you don't drink Corona, but
Right.
people will buy that now
Because he in the commercial.
Right. And that's kind of what, as a lifestyle brand, those are the dots we're looking to connect.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of even not just so much of like pushing something that we love, but the business model of it for people seeing like, hey, this is an untapped market. You know what I mean? The biggest specs of people growing in craft beer are Black people and women that are getting more into it. That's an untapped market for a business, because all of the, you know, white guys and beer drinkers, they've done it. You know what I mean? And younger people aren't really into beer like that.
Yeah.
So that's a market that's untapped. If you know what I mean, if it's marketed too well. Because if you're having a beer that got chocolate, vanilla, strawberries in it, that's like, oh man, that sounds.
Yeah, it's enticing.
Let me just try that though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or if I say, here's a beer with hops, yeast, grains, oats. Like none of that's like, man, like,
I'm cool.
I think I'm good on that, man. Let me get some of that Hennessy. You know what I mean? So that's what I think is important as we build as a lifestyle brand, to connect those dots and get more people to appreciate it from that perspective.
For sure, man. Women, right? That being just an untapped market. How can we take away bad stigmas when it comes towards women drinking beer? Because most women are sipping on a Don Julio, they popping bottles, but typically at a club, you don't see them sipping on beer. So like, how can we market better when it comes towards women?
I mean, I believe that it goes, like I said before a couple times, education and marketing, because most venues are going to buy what sells. So if we go in there like, hey, we have this amazing beer, they like it, and it just sits for a month, they're not going to re-up. And it's going to be bad for anybody else that tries to come in there with a craft beer. I've had these conversations in real time with bar managers. So it's really about, again, making it cool.
Yeah.
There was a time when vodka wasn't cool. There was a time when cognac wasn't cool. There was a time when tequila wasn't cool. Now it is the go-to. Most people are not super savvy consumers. They go with what's in their face. So that's the reason that Casamigos, which again is a horrible tequila, was super popular.
Yeah.
There's a reason that Don Julio, and Don Julio used to be really good, now it's just average, is super popular because it's marketed very well.
Yeah.
And you got to make it cool and get in people's faces. And that's the thing. A lot of brewers are like artists, like visual artists, or that like rapper that you love that doesn't care about the business. They just care about making really good beer, not understanding that it doesn't matter if you have great beer and no one drinks it, or the same 30, 40 people drink it every week. You got to be able to tap into entry point consumers. And like Swerve said, young people are not really drinking as much, not just beer, period. Statistics show they're not drinking as much because there are so many other options. You talked about THC earlier. It's, if you live in a state where it's illegal, it's almost easier to walk into a dispensary. You can literally go on apps and be like, pull up to the crib.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Station, man, you can get something edible or something to drink.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that's really what it is. It really comes down to proper marketing, tapping in with the proper tastemakers, influencers, whatever phrase you want to use for those people, and having a product that not only tastes good but looks good.
That's right.
I think that's a good point. It has to look good. It has to look attractive, look sexy. If we being honest,
No, that's real.
And a can of beer, no matter what you put on it, a lot of times to a woman ain't like, oh, that bottle look good. Let me take a picture for the gram with this can of beer. Like it's not really, it. And I think introducing different styles like gozas, like sours that women wouldn't even know, a lot of times don't know about, that is a beer style that is going to be more flavor forward. It's going to be dry. It's going to be sour. It's going to have those flavors that you would get from wines and things like that. So again, like I said, coming down to that education.
And it can happen like we did in July, in New Orleans. We did a ticketed beer dinner with a beer that we made with Urban South and our homegirl Reagan Sidney, who's a master chef, and it was sold out.
Wow.
We had to turn people away at the door.
Yeah.
And I don't know of anyone else I've seen get 75 to 100 black women in a room drinking beer and enjoying
That's
it.
impressive. That's right. He's like, I'll do it for you. Right?
Yeah.
Man, real talk.
And the thing about, I think that we did, which I do think we have a good beat on, is that we focused on women. So when we worked with Urban South, we wanted the can art to be focused on black women. And they worked with us with that, to be something a woman would see like, oh, wow, there's sisters on that can, different diversity of that. The way we promoted the event, you know what I mean? It was, towards women, you know what I mean? To be something elevated, still like, a barbecue, but elevated, I think that was a great entry point. A lot of the women there said, I would never even come to something like this or been to that. And then pairing the beer with the food. So you're getting a great flavor experience, what I mean? That good sensory experience that, really putting things that you wouldn't think would pair well, because a beer was very crisp and it was straightforward. So it went well with all the different menu options that we had.
Wow. Man, y'all boys really brought this thing down to a science, and I love hearing that, man. Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir, man. So how do y'all balance being creatives and entrepreneurs? Because sometimes some people, they could be too creative that they ain't focused on the business side. And then some people, they could be too business oriented that they're not getting creative when it comes to the designs, the merch that you guys have, distro, all of that. So how do y'all try to find that balance?
I just think it's an ebb and flow. We bounce off each other. There are times where we both wear the hats. There are times where he wears one hat and I wear the other hat. It really just depends on the project and really like what our bandwidth and what the schedules are looking like. Yeah, for sure. Outside of drought season, because like you said, we both have a bunch of other stuff going on. So yeah, that's really it. I believe that, like I said, if it's going back to music, like if you don't care about the business, just put out mixtapes. Don't sign a deal. Don't put nothing up on DSPs. Don't sell anything if you're not serious about it. So when we decided, we could have just made shirts for our homies. You know what I mean? We didn't decide to do that. We decided to create a business, and that's what it is.
For sure.
I think we're fortunate that we're creative enough, but we're more business focused. So it's not that we're so creative focused that we end up getting analysis paralysis and so much like we want this to be perfect that we don't put it out there.
That's right.
And we're good at kind of pushing each other in different lanes. Like we're kind of dialing in of like, okay, this is each our lanes where we kind of versed in and building a business and like leaning towards each other. But it's like anything, you know, like it ebbs and flows. You know what I mean? There's things that we've done where we thought were going to be big successes, or things we learned from that aren't going to work, and things that we didn't really think would pop that have taken off. You know what I mean? So it's just really being open to that and focusing on the data. I think that's a big thing we do too a lot of times. Like getting out of like how we emotionally feel. Like, okay, what's
it's like, what's the stats say?
Yeah, like, I love this shirt, man. It's like, yeah, but nobody's buying it. Bro. It's like,
That's
but
real.
it looks great. It's like, again,
gotta take that emotion out.
No one's buying it. You know what I mean? So as much as you love it, you know, then there's this other thing that it's like, man, everybody's buying. And then, you know, different areas. We've made shirts that in certain areas have gone crazy, and in certain areas, no one bought it at all, because you got to learn how people feel about their area. You know what I mean? Do they have that pride in their space where they want to do things that represent, or do they not do that? Do they not get into their team colors? It's just learning, but like looking at the data to say, okay, in this area, this thing does not sell. We have numbers to prove it, regardless of how we feel. And
that's real talk, man. Nowadays, every athlete has a spirit. Now everybody's involved in spirits. Do you guys feel like seeing that is somewhat like watering that market down? Because I know Shannon Sharp, he has one. LeBron got Lobos. This one got that. How do you feel about athletes now that's trying to get into this industry as well?
It doesn't bother me. I think it's enough room for everybody.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it's funny because I've done business with a bar, and the first thing he told me was like, "Yeah, no celebrity-driven spirit brands. We don't do that here." I was like, "Wow, that's how you feel."
Hey, like, somebody burnt them.
Yeah, like no. I think he was just about like elevated cocktails.
I feel that.
Things of that nature, and I mean, to be honest, you know, a lot of that stuff isn't good. Like it's okay, but again, they know who they're going after. If I can spend 50% less on R&D and production than I would making a stellar product, and I still know people will buy it because of my name and because of who's backing me, why would I?
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like I guarantee, like what you were saying, is great brewers that don't even necessarily drink beer. I'm pretty sure that privately, LeBron, when he wants some tequila, is picking up a Fortaleza or a Siete Leguas before he picking up Lobos. I would just imagine as somebody who takes that much care of their body, I would imagine he's going for top shelf, whatever he's doing.
That's right. Yeah. A billionaire too, so it's like
that's what I'm saying.
But you hit it point ahead, man. A lot of times it's just not good, and I think a lot of times they're not thinking of making customers. They're looking for just one-time consumers. Like they're not really, I got you, you bought it, cool. Who's next? Let's just keep churning that, and not getting it to be something crafted. So those who are into the craft of it get offended by it. So that's the kind of friction.
I don't know. I honestly, bro, I think that they want repeat customers because that's business, but I think they want a certain type of repeat. No, but they want a certain type of repeat customer. Like, bro, we just talking about Hennessy. Like, dog, the bottom level Hennessy is not good cognac. You go up to the XOs, all of that. It's excellent cognac. Wow. But it's marketing, bro. Like, people really
I saw Bron drink it, so I got to drink it.
They're in tune. Like, that's Kevin Hart joint. Right. That's whatever. And then you spoke on earlier, like the adjuncts and things of that nature. Like, people will be like, I don't like tequila. I guarantee it's a gang of people that drink tequila now that forever was like, I don't like tequila because of whatever hangover, whatever, because they was drinking 1800 or they was drink. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of what it is. Wow. At the end of the day, like it's really about quality and marketing. Though there are great products that are not super expensive that are quality. Yeah. Same thing with craft beer. Yeah. There are also products that cost a gang of money that are not great quality. Yeah. And I think that's across the board.
Wow, man, for sure. And seeing y'all, pushing Black history, I love seeing that.
For sure.
Unfortunately, though, some Black people who are entrepreneurs, man, we just had a heated debate with one of my friends earlier about this same thing about, them being afraid to push blackness, right? But seeing y'all pushing about the black history, mixing that with the beer. Brandy, shake your head. That's me all day, 24/7, because I don't get that. But what words of encouragement, advice would y'all have for a black up-and-coming entrepreneur who might feel like, am I being too black? Do I have too much black art in my business? Like, how can I embrace being black and still attract other customers as well?
For me, you got to be true to yourself. I was raised a certain way as a black man by my mother, who grew up in Swainsboro, Georgia, fighting for people to vote, picking cotton. So there's just a certain place that I look at myself in history. So for me, that's what's real to me. So saying something beer's black history, I don't have any problem putting that up. Understanding that it's going to be off-putting to some people. Understanding that it may turn some people away, but I don't look at them as my customers. You know what I mean? Like, my customers are those who are into the brand that I'm selling. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be off-putting. Like Brandon said, we've been with my hometown of Pittsburgh. We sold a lot of beers black history. We had white people like mad that we sold out of that. You know what I mean? So you can't tell me that if you're true to yourself and it's a true message that people won't support it. So for me, that's what it comes down to. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable like us selling out to get all the bread. Like, it just wouldn't feel good. That's just me. You know what I mean? I enjoy what we're doing, how we're building it. Yeah, there's times where there's certain things I think that, man, if we did this one thing, we could probably take off with this. You know what I mean? And in a moment, I'll start wrapping all my thoughts around it. And then I think, is it really genuine to our brand? You know what I mean? Like, we talk about, like, I'll give you a perfect example. St. Patrick's Day. That's a beer holiday.
I never thought about St. Patrick's Day.
That's a beer holiday.
Yeah.
You would think for us being a brand, ain't y'all doing the St. Patrick's
Savannah
Day?
too. Yeah, it's huge.
How do we tie that into being beer's black history that makes sense? You know what I mean? Like, and I've researched it because I've really been thinking like, man, we get
off the Leprechaun note. You could,
yeah, but there's some black Irish, and it's like, but it's not enough to really make it connect.
Yeah.
So it could be like, okay, we're gonna go out there and do it, cool, but how do we do it in a way? Now we might be able to put a spin on it, like make it red, black, and green. You know what I mean? Something like that. Yeah. But all that has to line up with what's genuine to us. So for me, and there's nothing against those people, but those people that probably don't feel comfortable, they may not have the same experience growing up being black. You know what I mean? They're feeling comfortable and proud in that space. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that as a strike, but that's hard for somebody who didn't grow up that way to understand how we could feel comfortable like wearing this, you know what I mean, and telling this story and proud to tell that story to anyone because it's real history. You know what I mean? It's not like we're just making it up to be black and saucy. You know what I mean? Like, it's real history. You know what I mean? So that to me, I think is the biggest part of it. And when I'm getting those debates, it's just like, well, we're just in a different place because I'm going to wear this shirt that's going to say history, and you may feel like, oh, that's a little offensive to some. You know what I mean? That's just where you lie.
Respect,
you
bro.
know?
I love that, man. In this current day and time, everybody's trying to collab, you know, people on social media, let's work. So how do y'all know who to work with? Because sometimes everybody's trying to hop on y'all's train is buzzing. So like overall, how would you know, okay, I like that business, I don't like that one?
We're very deliberate in who we work with. We get approached all the time about doing things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Right. For us, it's a mix of several things. Most importantly, are you like-minded? We work with allies all the time. We have an event coming up February 8th with Monday Night Garage. Monday Night is one of the biggest breweries in the South. So they're not white. I mean, they're not black owned at all, but they've rocked with us since day one. So they're an ally. Same thing, Urban South, second largest brewery in Louisiana. I want to say the 100th largest brewery in the country. Wow. They work with Juvenile. That shows there's a proof of concept with them working in Juvenile, black. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we look at that. So you have to be like-minded. You have to understand the mission. You have to be open to collaboration. We don't just slap our name or our logo or our trademarks on anything. We're actually involved from recipe to creation to artwork to marketing to promotion. We're extremely involved in everything that we do. And you have to do good business. If we can't get you on the phone, I always say if before money comes, if we can't get on the same page, it's gonna be real ugly once money start rolling in. So we might as well just not work together.
Facts. Yeah. Facts.
And that's kind of how we look at it. And it just has to make sense. Timing is everything. We have quite a few either capsule collections or beer collabs coming up the first half of this year. And everyone we're working with is either a company we've worked with in the past or a company that we have enough of a relationship with to understand how they get down from a business perspective and a social perspective.
For sure, man. For sure. Brandon, you have a very extensive background in media, legendary. How can other Black breweries and businesses better leverage media towards promotion, marketing, and things like that?
It's a great question. I believe it's just communication. Like everything that we've done, we've been on TV in several markets across the country and in Canada, and it's all just informing people what's going on and making your business or what you're doing something worth covering. At the end of the day, like there have been several times, and the irony is, unfortunately, a lot of the Black-owned publications is who have not showed us any love.
Tell me about it.
Like,
I know.
I don't know how we get mentioned in Rolling Stone before we get mentioned in a Black-owned publication, but that's crazy. But, you know, it is what it is.
Be your own.
Yeah, so I just think it's really just understanding publicity, reaching out. If you have the money, hire a publicist with connections. Like you said, I've been in media for a super long time, so I know a lot of these people. So it's a little bit easier for us to get on TV or to get in magazines or do podcasts or whatever. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to have a product worth supporting, a product worth giving attention to, either regionally or nationally, and having those connections. And once it happens, being professional, being on time, knowing how to talk on camera, knowing how to talk in sound bites, things of that nature, as opposed to, you know, some people are not comfortable on camera, which is understandable. And that means you need to have somebody else in your
some type of
organization get
spokesperson
on camera.
Yeah. And I think too, building relationships, because you just never know where somebody's going to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of podcasts we did when we first got in to craft beer, and the craft beer space now are huge in the craft beer space, but they were just starting off and they were like, hey man, we just looking for people to interview. We could have been on some like, man, nobody know who they are. You know what I'm saying? But we just really looked at their brand like, nah, I like what they're talking about. I like where they're going. Let's have a conversation with them. You know what I mean? And we built great relationships with them now to the point where we can do business in other spaces or use their platform to build something that we want to, like if we like, okay, we want to go into Delaware, so to say, you know what I'm saying? Our brothers with Bruising Banner podcast, we can always reach out to them because we got with them early. So I think when you're having those initial media things, you know what I mean? Like giving everybody an opportunity that looks like, you know what I mean? They're trying to do good business, you know, build those relationships.
That's an excellent point. Like, don't feel like you too big to talk to somebody as well. That's an excellent point because you never know who's watching and who sees what, for sure.
And where they're going to be. They might get picked up by somebody bigger and they're like, man, you gave me an interview when no one was trying to talk to me. Y'all gave me some time when no one was really trying to, you know, rock with me. So now let me cover you in grand scale as opposed to doing, you know. So I think that's big in any space is building relationships, but especially I think in that I've seen not coming from that background, but from where we started to now and how we can reach out to those people when they were just getting started.
No, that's real talk. What would you guys say was that like aha moment of, yo, we really got something with this business?
I think we had different ones. I'd say
Probably so.
Mine was when we started doing these collabs and I started to see we were giving national attention to these breweries that no one knew about outside of that space. And that's why I was like, wow, man, we're able to actually like really help them promote to things that they wouldn't be able to, you know what I mean? Because we have relationships with different publications, different people. And that's what I saw was a bigger mission, you know, for me at that point, because it's like now we can actually really help grow this less than 1% because we can get attention. We can get people to tap rooms. We can leverage relationships. So that was the moment for me when I was like, this is actually a little bit bigger than us as far as like what the mission is. We're responsible for a lot right now. Yeah. Because we can really help leverage some things that these breweries can't do on their own because they're pigeonholed to their area because they don't have national distribution. They don't have, national relationships. So that was it for me.
And a lot of times they don't have the bandwidth.
Yeah,
like
true.
a lot of times it's like the owner is the brewer, it's the beer
Everything.
tender, is like
you don't have a marketing team. You don't got someone to just do that, and someone to put together events. You're just trying to like keep beer going and keep the lights on. And we're able to come in and just wrap an event around what you're doing. You know what I mean? And bring some attention, bring some people out, give you a blueprint to something you can move forward. I always like to leave people better than I came. So if we could leave a blueprint that you can run with and you start making events, great. You know what I mean? That's something that you can now bring more people to your tap room. So that, for me, I think that's a huge part of what we do.
For sure, bro.
Yeah, for me, I'm a visionary. So like my brain is already in like 26, 27 about what we're doing. So for me, it was simply when we had to explain a lot less who we are and what we do. When we're talking to bigger companies or something like that, like, oh yeah, I know, blah blah blah, this and that. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's definitely what's up. And then also being able to expand to different markets, because I'm from California, he's from Pittsburgh. So we do a lot of stuff in Oakland, my hometown, do a lot of stuff in Pittsburgh, but like being able to do stuff in Houston, stuff in Toronto and Chicago, things of that nature just lets us know like, all right, we're pushing this brand, like this is becoming a thing.
Yeah. Nah, man, I love that. When drought season pulls up to a brewery, what happens from step A all the way to step Z? What happens?
Like when we just going to kick it or when we doing business?
Work, business.
Oh man! Well, first of all, we would have researched you out before we even pulled up.
Gosh, look, he already got the drop on him already.
Right, because we may not even want to waste our time. You know what I mean? Like honestly, so we really look at that, and then we really feeling it out, like feeling how the people are, how. For me, this is something I do just from customer service. I see how they're treating us without knowing that we're somebody here trying to do business with you.
Yep. Hey, what's your true character like?
Yeah, what's your true character like? And I'll tell you, man, on some real, there's big breweries here that I would never do business with, that I've done business with. Like when I first got in, I would never, because of that reason. Because it's just like, man, I've done business with you that you don't even know about.
That's crazy.
I'm actually like I'm not going to mention the brewery for my political ties. I don't want to offend anybody. But there's a brewery that I was actually at for the event we were doing, and they were bypassing me to serve other customers. And this is like the event that I'm here put together.
Wow.
And
you ain't tell me that.
Yeah, nah, because if I did, he'd blast them and tell and so, but see, that's the thing, is that a lot of times, like, I always look at how you run top to bottom, like how your top is going to come down. If your boss is not really running things well, he's not connected all over the place, the whole staff going to be that way. You know what I mean? So if I walk in and I'm getting great customer service, you're treating me, you're greeting me to come in, I'm expecting that to roll throughout the rest of my process. But if we go in and they're not halfway talking to us, they're kind of giving us an attitude on why we're here, I'm all like, now I'm on skeptical. So everything that you say, I'm judging everything that you're saying, as opposed to listening to it and maybe being a little bit more open to hearing different perspectives. At that point, like, and the more my experience is bad, the more. So we're doing that from the beginning when we pull up, and then we both have different. I probably know a bit more about the beer part of it, and Brandon knows about the marketing part of it. So I'll start talking with the brewers. I'll start getting into that, and Brandon will be thinking about how we should shoot it. So we kind of like go into our own separate spaces when we're there, and then gravitate to those people based off of that. You know what I mean? And then build the relationships from there. And that's one thing for us. I say, when we're working with people, we're building relationships with them. We're not just a business. Like when we're in town, we're pulling up just to have a beer. When you're here, you know what I mean? So that's really, we're inviting them to spaces when we're here, just, to support, and almost treating that almost as business. Like, yo, man, someone pulled up. We got to connect with them. We got to work with them, build that relationship. Brandon's really good at building that. Yeah. So I think for us, we're assessing like, okay, how are we going to build this relationship before we even talk about the business? What's this relationship going to look like? Is this just going to be an A and B relationship where we're going to do this business and we're done? Or is this going to be something that we're going to be able to build going forward? So
yeah, because it's like this. It's people that we both like personally. They're like, oh man, cool folks. Will we ever do business with them again? Absolutely
Hell
not.
no.
I feel you. I feel you.
I mean, my peoples, man. Like, people I really rock with, I would never do business. And fair that people might be thinking about us because we are very...
No,
rigid.
Hey, that's not a bad thing, though.
Nah.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, perspective, you know what I mean?
You trying to get things done.
Yeah, right. But to someone who doesn't want that, to someone who wants to be a little bit more loose about it, we might be too much, you know, for what we're asking.
Frank shake his head like, nah, I don't do the free flow.
Nah, man,
we don't do that.
Nah, you can't get to no bread that way.
Exactly.
So that's the thing with us, I would say, is that from my perspective, we're assessing and building a relationship from different angles, and the business will just flow from that.
Right.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure. What would you guys say has been your toughest challenge so far in this industry as Black entrepreneurs in this?
I would say, I mean, we're doing something that I won't say it has not been done before because there's nothing new under the sun, but this is not there's not 50 people that we can go look at to be like, okay, they made this mistake, or this is who they worked with for distribution, or this is
y'all are those 50 people like, for the next.
Like there are, I mean, we researched this. There are people who work in that space, that niche space of creating product for people who love beer, but it's very few and far between, and a lot of them are in and out, or they had one or two products. Like, we have a full lines. So yeah, that's the most difficult part, is like, you really gotta just figure it out on your own. Like, we can look at like, okay, this brewery is very successful and they did this with their collabs, or I have several people I know in the fashion business, like my man Dustin Cannelin, who designed for the NBA, owns Trophy Hunting, the whole nine. Dustin is younger than me. I hit that dude up for advice all the time. My man Gerard from Legacy History Pride, OG in the game, School of Hard Knocks, the whole nine. I hit him up all the time. Ken Lowe, Players University, hit him up. These are my OGs. So like, fashion stuff, I can ask them questions, but as far as what we do specifically, I have no one to call. Wow. You know what I mean? I don't think you do either.
Nah, and then we're trying to lead people into a market that they don't necessarily even tap into. Right. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, something like a conversation like this is so much more important for what we're doing than a conversation with the beer brand, because we're speaking to the choir. Right. Those are people that
they already know about it.
They already know about it. This is people that, like, this is either something that's extremely interesting, or they swipe past it because they're not really feeling it. But that's what we want. We want these people that, like, this conference, like, okay, man, they was talking about something. Let me try a beer. Let me pull up. Let me check out that gear. Let me go to one of their events. Let me get into the lifestyle, if you will. You know what I mean? Let me find a space in it. So, but again, there's nothing for it. You know what I mean? So we're learning as we go. Now, that's been fun to me, you know what I mean, as far as figuring it out. But also, if it was something a little bit more proven, maybe we'd be further in 3 years with everything that we're doing, because we can line up with different patterns and things like that. There isn't, like, the beer dinners that we're doing. Like, I know people that have done it. I don't think they've done it the way that we've done it, you know? So there's that. The events, the capsule collections, the Beers Black History, I would call it a campaign, you know what I mean? Because we've gotten so many people behind it of really wanting to push that messaging. A lot of times when breweries partner with us, I think it's because they align with the messaging more so than they want to just say this is great beer. Like, yeah, it's good, but they really want to say, like, nah, like, let's put it out there. Yeah. So it's been challenging, but it's been for me a fun challenge because, you know, like I said, it's brand new.
Yeah, man. Yeah. To that person out there that has negative preconceived notions about beer, what words do y'all have for them to even try beer, get used to it, which ones to try, things like that?
There are more calories in a rum and Coke than there are in just about any beer you're going to drink. So the beer belly thing.
Oh, for real, bro? I didn't know that. Brandon, bro, all I drink is rum and Coke. It changed my whole perspective,
There's
bro.
The beer belly thing is a myth that neither one of us are fat. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, and we drink beer.
A lot of
not as much as we used to.
Not as much as we used to.
More than a rum and Coke.
No, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Rum and Coke has more calories in it than most beers do. It's just find something you like.
Yeah.
His thing, and this is so funny, like we got to figure out a way to market this. You want beer that tastes like beer, or you want beer that don't taste like beer. And that's really what it boils down to. There is something you will like. We have a concept that we actually need to push forward to where we're going to work with people who say they don't like beer, they hate beer, and convince them and find a beer that they actually like. Because there's so many flavor profiles out there.
Yeah. If you don't, you'd have to not like alcohol. If you don't like alcohol, okay, cool. If you drink alcohol, there's absolutely a beer that you would drink that you wouldn't even know tastes like beer. Some taste like milkshakes almost. You know what I mean?
I gotta try those.
Like that. What I'm saying is that you can find a beer that you like. So that's the thing. Like Brandon said, I always say, do you want beer that tastes like beer or beer that don't taste like beer? Because like I said, we said earlier, beer that tastes like beer, Corona, Budweiser.
Or like a heavy IPA.
Yeah, a heavy IPA. It almost tastes like a Christmas tree or some shit. So that's what I'm saying is that, finding that lane is the thing that, I think, like I said, we're very confident that if you're into alcohol, we could find a beer that you would not just love.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Bro, y'all been great. I probably only got like 2 more questions for y'all if that's cool, man.
Good.
Perfect.
Conversation.
Why should more Black entrepreneurs get involved in this space? Because, man, seeing y'all, I'm truly fascinated by this information. I was never privy to it. I was always told if you drink too much beer, you'll get a beer gut. Drink this instead. So why should more Black entrepreneurs get involved in this open market?
For me, it's twofold. I believe it's needed. During the pandemic, like a lot of businesses, a lot of spirits and beverage, even energy drinks, sodas, the whole nine, numbers went through the roof. It's tailed down now, and a lot of breweries are going out of business, but I believe that a lot of breweries are going out of business. It's many reasons, but from my perspective, the main reason is they don't market properly to their constituents in their neighborhood. I believe that more Black entrepreneurs coming into this space will bring new blood into the space that will bring in entry point consumers that are sustainable because you're going to do perfect example. If Cam Newton has Fellowship, not far from here, Cigar Lounge, I would say at least half the people went there because it was Cam Newton's spot. If Cam Newton opened a brewery in the same spot, those people would go there. If it was Fly, you're going to retain some of those customers who probably knew nothing about beer before. The 3-4 times I've been to Fellowship, I've barely even seen people smoking cigars.
Wow.
They in there drinking, eating, having a good time, being Fly. With their hats on, you know what I mean?
Wow.
That's the flavor that needs to come to the industry. Secondly, the margins, if you do it correctly on creating, if you're selling the beer, on creating the beer are way better than the margins on a lot of other businesses that you'll get into because it's just about knowing how to do it properly, getting your proper yield, knowing what your customers want, knowing when to brew, how much to brew, things of that nature. So the industry really needs us, and the industry needs more women in this business as well.
Yeah. And craft breweries, a lot of people, there's research on it, how they bring other business to areas. That's why a lot of times where you see areas being gentrified, one of the first things they put is a brewery.
Walker Street.
First thing they put
White
is
Street. I saw that on White Street.
Yeah.
They got breweries.
Because
a couple of them.
Businesses grow from there because, you got the brewery. Now we want to get a tap room. Now we want another brewery. Now now we need food. So all these different, we got beer. Now we got to get whiskey. So Lee and White is a perfect example of that where first it was just, I think it was Wild Heaven before Monday Night Garage. Yeah. Then you had Monday Night Garage. Then you got ASW. Then after ASW, you got Best End Brewing. Then after that, you got all these different businesses that just start building.
A food hall.
Now you got a food hall.
Yeah.
So all these different things start coming around when you bring a brewery into it. It's just like one of those neighborhood things that things start building around. So that's one part of it. Like Brandon said, the margins. A lot of people don't know, and I'm rounding up. It probably costs maybe $1 to make a beer that you're charging for from a margin cost perspective. Let's call it $2 even. You know what I mean? For a 5, 6, 8, sometimes $10 pint. So from a margin perspective, you know what I mean, an investment. Now you have to get a lot of equipment and things like that. You have to have brewers, but those are things that you can say if you're building a business model, or do a tap room. Maybe not even go to a brewery. Do a tap room where you can make the beer, but also sell other spirits and food and things like that. Then you have flexibility where you have a product that you're making something proprietary because you're making your own beer, and then you also can sell other people's products. So there's just a lot of ways you can flex with it in the space. And again, it's an untapped market, you know what I mean, of people that are starting to grow into it. So that to me is the focus that I think is, you know, for any entrepreneur looking to get into something crafty, something that, you know what I mean, depending on how you get into it, may not have a lot of overhead, because you can get into what's called contract brewing, where you actually go to another brewery and have them brew your beer and you sell it. So you don't have to deal with the overhead of space. You don't have to have equipment. You can have somebody that maybe have a little bit more expertise in the brewing process, help you dial in your recipes, and you can still build yourself as a brewery and still get, you know, market it out there. Some of the best up and coming brewers, hip hop heads, my brothers, I respect their whole business model and everything. They doing contract brewing and they have great beer. And they have a great business model that they're doing as far as marrying hip hop with beer. You know what I mean? So that's just, you know, I mean, those are just three brothers from Morehouse that, you know what I'm saying, just came together. And now 3 years, they have a business model that they're about to put out from something that they built. They've done it the right way, even getting medals for the beer, like winning, you know, awards for the beer, to say that when we come into the game, we've already got the accreditation from the industry. So again, like I said, there's just a lot of different angles you can go into the space.
Sheesh, man, bro. Thank you. Where do you guys see drought season 5 to 10 years from now?
Man, that's a great question. I definitely see us as being the premier lifestyle brand in the space. We've, you know, collabs with big national brands at that point, being involved with, you know, bigger events. I really think that our beer dinner that we have is something that's going to dial in. So I can see in the next few years of that being something big as well. And then just really helping to grow this space. You know, that's something that we've really done. So I see us getting more involved in that piece right there, of really helping these Black-owned breweries to grow and thrive and build good business plans to be sustainable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would just say a household name.
Yeah.
At the end, a global brand and a household name, especially within 10 years from now, it'll be unrecognizable from where it is now.
Yes, sir.
We're definitely working and growing, and 10 years from now, we'll have more time, more people in the mix to help us out to grow this thing, more expansion, because it's an exciting space, and like where the beer industry is in 10 years is going to be super interesting to see, and I believe that we'll be a big part of that.
Yeah, and that's one thing, is being ahead of that, because even now you're starting to see people move to being more beverage companies than breweries. And that's something I think being a lifestyle brand is important, and we, you know, being dialed into how the industry is changing and being able to move with it.
For sure, man. Next year, 2026, bro, we got the World Cup. It's a whole lot of beer drinkers. Jeez. What do you guys see y'all potentially doing with events, festivals, or anything revolving around
whatever opportunities are out there, man? I've already started looking through some things that are floating around as far as the plans for the city for that, so seeing where we can fit in, but.
And we're plugged in
doing the Birdman hands.
And we're plugged in Atlanta, because I'm the operations manager there. So we at least got a foot close to everything that's going on in Castleberry Hill. So we'll definitely be looking to do some partnerships with them and be involved with that. And then what's the Super Bowl right after that? So the year after that. So you know, there's a lot of big things coming through Atlanta that we definitely want to make sure we're in a position to capitalize on as much as possible.
Nah, man, for sure, bro. Absolutely. Man, Swerve, Brandon, bro, I appreciate y'all greatly, man. Y'all gave out so much great game. I already know all the subscribers who's tuned in probably had no idea about Black people even being involved in beer.
Right.
And, you know, learning about beer, rum and Coke, Brandon, now knowing that, bro, I gotta try some beer because the whole time I was
Absolutely.
like, nah, it's the calories, things like that. So man,
Well,
thank y'all for
you
just
gotta
like
you gotta
demystifying.
come out, man.
Yeah.
February 8th
Okay.
from noon to 4, Monday Night Garage, which is right over in Lee and White, which we were discussing here in Atlanta.
Done deal.
We're doing a capsule collection with Atlanta Influences Everything, and also an Imperial Stout with Monday Night, which is going to be very high percentages for people that really like stouts, but it's brewed. I mean, it was aged in Old Fitzgerald 19-year barrels. If you into whiskey, you know what it is.
Aged for 2 years.
Aged for 2 years.
So for my, like, sometimes to be something considered aged, I think you only need 6 to 8 months. We've had it sitting in there for 2 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to definitely get that whiskey.
I'm there, bro.
It's gonna be amazing. We're adding a couple little things to it. When did the taste just straight out the barrel the other day?
Yeah.
Amazing. We're adding a few things to it. So that's on the 8th from noon to 4. The great Wally Sparks is
that's
DJing.
perfect too. During the daytime?
Yeah.
I'm there.
Wally Sparks is DJing. We'll actually have a panel on the history of beer and our place in this space.
Yeah.
February 11th, we're doing a happy hour with Marcus Bar and Grill, another black-owned business here in Atlanta. If y'all are not familiar, it's the same people that own Red Rooster in New York and in Miami as well. So Chef Gary and friends, it'll be a bunch of black-owned brewers having their stuff on tap, as well as vendors there. February 23rd, Oakland, California, Black Joy Parade. We've been participating the last few years. We are hosting.
We're announcing it. We're letting it out.
Yeah, we are
It's the first
hosting
announcement of
the
that.
Black Beer Garden at the Black Joy Parade.
Yes, we are.
If you have never been to Black Joy Parade, it is quite possibly outside of maybe Essence Fest, the blackest thing you will see in America. 20,000, 30,000 people
I've never been
downtown
around that
Oakland.
many black people in my life without something going down. Straight
like,
up.
to go wrong.
I was like, how is it not, man? Because like, I mean, maybe because y'all call it Black Joy because everybody come happy. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But let me tell you, from somebody not being from there, it's a beautiful thing to see all those people come through.
That's hard.
And for us to have the honor of hosting that beer garden this year with the support of NB2A, that's the National Black Brewers Association. They've done a lot of great work in really getting more attention, getting more black people in this, more black brewers in this space. So shout out to NB2A there. But with their help and partnership, we're going to host another beer garden. You know, I mean, we're right by the stage. We got, so if you're in Oakland, make sure you can't miss us. It's going to be great. Now that we're involved, we're definitely going to curate it this year. So it's going to look visually, you know, great. It's going to be a great space. So come out and check us out if you're in the Oakland area, or if you know somebody that like to jump on flights, you know, it's definitely worth the trip.
It's a big deal. Put it to you like this:
the
last 3 years, the headliners have been Duran Bernard, Ashanti, and George Clinton in the Parliament Funkadelic. Like it's not small. Like it's
like that.
a big deal. Like Oakland shuts down for this. Like for sure, it's crazy. No, absolutely. And then we have a bunch of collabs, beer collabs coming up this year that we can't quite let the cat out of the bag just yet. But we have big stuff coming up. If y'all paid attention, in 2024, we had a beer at the Sacramento Kings Arena for the second half of the season. We're doing a lot of major things. Those things are going to continue and just get bigger as we go along.
Sacramento too, bro. Like that's crazy.
Well, we do a lot of work with Oak Park Brewing. If you a hoop fan, Kevin Johnson, who was an amazing point guard, Cal Bears, Phoenix Suns, who was also the mayor of Sacramento at one point, has a super dope district in Oak Park on Broadway where he owns a lot of businesses there. Oak Park Brewing being one of them. So we do a lot of business with them. Done quite a few collabs. Shout out to Brittany, Raj, Jeff, Becca, Kevin, the whole team over there. Those are our people for sure. And follow us, man, on Draught Season, DRAUGHT
on
season on everything. DroughTseason.com. You'll definitely see what we're doing. Go ahead and buy some gear and represent and show your love, beer and support black-owned business.
Yes, sir. Man.
Oh, one more thing too. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, loving it, you want to get more into this craft beer space. Our sister, my partner, Jen Price, she has a festival, Crafted for Action. It's a conference that happens the week of Juneteenth. We're selling tickets now. It's going to be at
the Leon White space at Wild Heaven. There's going to be all types of different. We're going to have a beer share to open it up for. So those of you who are new getting the beer, a beer share is when you just go get a bottle and you come and everybody kind of shares and tries different beers.
Wow.
So that's a great place for a novice to start out to learn different beers, because then you're getting beers from all over the nation. People are bringing in just to try different things. Then we're going to have just different workshops. We got a winemaking space, different things for people to get into it. We're going to have a big Juneteenth party to celebrate, because it's going to be Juneteenth week. We got a nice event we're doing on Friday. The past years, they've done this thing called Brews and Beats, where they've had female producers have a beer and pair it with a beat. So they would do it like that. But now we're going to do a spin on it. So more to come on that. And then we have basically like a day camp on Saturday. So it's just a number of great things that she's curated. I'm so proud of her. But if you're into it, go to Crafted for Action on IG, get yourself a ticket, come out and support that, because that's a great way to like entry into the space. And we're focused on, people of color and women in the space that are really working. So that's another thing too. And that's just showcasing the things that we're doing out here, man. And I would be remiss. I'm a member of the Brewers Guild. In April, we got our Brewers Guild Festival in Woodstock. So come out to that. That's going to be a great celebration as well. So there's just entry points. But like Brandon said, if you want to stay plugged in, if this is something that you're interested in or you want to know about it, follow Draught Season. Get your Draught Season merch so people know when they see you that you know where the good craft beer's at.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Brandon Swerve, bro. Appreciate y'all, man, so much for your time. I value that, bro. Y'all could have been anywhere else. So, man, thank y'all.
All good,
Much
man.
love. Yes.
Glad we could do it.
This
Yes,
is great.
sir, man. Y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this out. Make sure to follow Draught Season on all platforms. Thank y'all again. Blessed be host Caleb Smith. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.